Why does the title say it's June 10th? It's June 11th. Welcome to the show. It's Club Corbie for the 11th of June 2020. I fixed that now. Not surprising that I would mess up the date because it's been a frantic day, and we're going to do a short stream today. We're not going to be on long. We're only going to be doing an hour today because it's been kind of frantic. We're going to just power through it. We're going to get started. We're going to be working on the same page we've been working on all week. It's page 16. It's taking a while. So since yesterday's stream, you can see that the only thing that I've really done off stream just before the show started today was, I said yesterday, I felt that Orly was a bit too, her torso was a bit too long, too tall I should say. So I went in and pulled her down a bit, shortened her a bit. So I've made that fix now. The nice thing about having the what the heck is going? No, that is good. I was going to say the nice thing about having the background on a separate layer is that this chair is mostly intact. So I was able to go in and you know, scale down Orly, and I didn't have to worry too much about the background elements, the chair that's behind her, getting partially raised or anything along the way. In fact, all I had to do there was just fill in a little bit of extra room because she now takes up a little bit less space than less space than she did, so I had to fill in the chair elements there. But other than that, didn't have to make many changes there. So now I can go in and we can go back to Mona and get started on fixing her up as well. And again, the chair in the background there, that's going to be in a different layer. So you see when I remove elements of the character art, the chair remains yeah, I'm really kind of struggling to fit everything in, so yeah, just the kind of day-to-day stuff that I need to do outside of Corbie. And as you know from yesterday, I did say on yesterday's show, my I was exhausted yesterday, and I needed to catch up on my sleep as well. So that's what I did last night. I went and I got a good amount of sleep. The only problem there is that I'm behind schedule on a bunch of other stuff that I also need to do. So yeah, you fix one problem and you end up with another. So I definitely need to scale back a lot of things. So temporarily today, it's just for today, it's going to be a shorter Club Corbie. So I'm going to try and power through it because this page is taking too long as well. I really feel that none of these pages should take more than a day or two at the most, and this one is starting to drag, and it has been because I haven't been able to put any more time into the comic outside of what we've been doing on stream. And to some extent that's just part of life really. Some days you're going to be able to commit more to making comics, and you're going to have more free time to do it, and other days you've got other stuff you need to take care of, you know. It's like your dishes won't wash themselves, your clothes won't wash themselves, you've got to do your laundry at some point, you've got to vacuum the floor and do your other sort of general like self-care kind of stuff, you know, and it all has to fit in somewhere. We all have non-comic commitments. I'm sure that's true for everyone. And sometimes those just become the priority. I need to go and bring up the art that we did of Orly and Mona as well, and have that open in a separate window so that I can make sure that when drawing the clothing details that that's all accurate. Again, I've done the torso. I made the torso kind of long here, but I don't mind so much with Mona because it's supposed to be a bit taller, so. I want to say thank you and hello to our super fans on Periscope. And thank you for watching the streams. I don't know if any of our super fans are in today, but if you are, hello. And also, well, that torso came out really funny now. Okay, I'm going to have to remove this line. And also hello to our regular Twitch viewers as well. thank you for continuing to watch and supporting the show. You know, I say that a lot. I usually say that at the end of every show as well, or quite often I do. And I thank all of you who support the stream, even in, you know, a non-financial way, even if it's just by turning up and just watching and helping to increase the numbers. But it's true, because when you're a small streamer and a small comic creator like I am, you know, anybody, just to have anybody watching is a big boost. I'd say also thank you to everyone who watches on YouTube, but considering how big YouTube is, it seems like our audience on YouTube is much smaller than on the other platforms, so I don't know if we have any regular viewers on YouTube. But you know, it's not much more work to me to stream on YouTube as well, when we're already doing it on Twitter and Periscope and Twitch, so. No, that is not in alignment. I want to really just power through today and not get caught up in minor details, but it's hard sometimes. You want everything to be correct, all of the details to be in place.
Silence fills this empty space, and I can't get out the stain you left on everything. Yeah, you're all over me, but I'm not over you. Time hasn't healed, 'cause I still feel the bruise. I don't wanna do this anymore. If so nervous. I keep biting my lip. I keep checking my phone, there's nobody there. So everyone knows that I can't even care unless I'm hearing back from you. If I'm better off without you, then why don't I feel any better? Sticks and stones can break my bones, but then I can put them back together. Why do I try when I won't change my mind? If I'm better off without you,
This hand needs to be all the way out here. It needs to be grabbing the shoulder. No, definitely not pleased with this. I'm saying that Sadie's hair is going to get in the way, so I'm kind of agonising here for getting the arms folded exactly the way that I want them to. And That's going to complicate things as well. Okay, let's just put this together. Pull this out a bit. It definitely helps if you refer to reference material when you're doing things like this, because arms folded can actually end up being so many different configurations. You can have the hand in front, you can have the hand cupping the elbow here. There's a lot of different ways to do this pose. You know, without doing it, without any of them necessarily being wrong. So it's just a case of figuring out what it is that you want. Then, like I said, And if you can have reference material handy, that helps too. I just ended up pulling up something on my phone here just to have something to compare to. And that's gonna, obviously that's been a big help in terms of getting that arm done a lot quicker than I would have otherwise. Otherwise I could have been here all day, and like I said, I want to try and start to speed up the process of getting this page done. I don't have to tell you that using reference is absolutely fine, by the way, do I? I know it's, for some reason, now and again that becomes a debate in the art community about whether you should use reference. Of course you should use reference. Let me tell you that all of the old-timey comic greats from, certainly from the Silver Age, used reference material. In those days they had to have, it wasn't Google Images, it was swipe files. It was big filing cabinets of photos of cars and buildings and anything that they would need to refer to. A big part of what they did was making a point of collecting that reference material for future use in case they ever needed the, you know, if they were handed a script and it said Spider-Man is on the Brooklyn Bridge or whatever, and they could go dig out a photograph of the Brooklyn Bridge, Brooklyn Bridge even, and use that to make sure that they got it correct. They didn't just wing it. Of what, you know, what they thought they needed to. They used reference. The only difference now is that reference is a lot more accessible to everyone. In terms of, you know, you've got Google Images and you have all kinds of, there's all kinds of resources out there for poses and anatomy and things like that, so material is there for you to use. So I wouldn't be shy about using it. You're not, and if you're just doing it for something like this to get a pose right, I mean, there's no shame in it. Like I said, the greats all did it. It's just a natural part of the process. In fact, I would say that the post we ended up with there, that Mona is doing now in terms of having the arms folded, is a lot better now because I used the reference there when I was fumbling with it than it would have been if I had just tried to improvise it on my own. So you see, that's exactly the sort of thing I'm talking about. You know, I hope that these streams are educational for people. I don't know exactly what people are looking to get out of watching a stream like this. If you're just interested in seeing the process, or if you're interested in making your own comics. But, you know, I do try to provide some kind of insight. I'm getting a bit of a cramp in there. Like, I tried to provide a bit of insight into what goes into making a comic like this. I'm not a professional. I don't. Yeah, nobody pays me to make comics. Nothing that I have done has ever been published, sadly. But I do like to think that the years of... Oh god, I'm trying that in the wrong way. I do like to think that there's something that... There's some things that can be learned from many years of doing this. And you know, we've done a lot of Club Corbies by now, a lot of shows. So we've kind of built up a heck of a resource in terms of hours and hours of just me drawing mostly, and lettering and inking and colouring and showing my process. And you've even been able to see how my process has changed even just in the time since we've started doing the daily strips, and how different they are to the content that I've been doing previously, in terms of now we're doing an all digital product. Before, you know, we did streams about inking in a more old school fashion with pens and paper. We've done penciling streams as well. We've done colouring, we've done lettering. I've kind of lost track of how many shows we've done, by the way. I had to delete my offline archive of Club Corbies because it's taking up too much space. It was like 100 gigabytes of footage, and I couldn't justify keeping it, so. But we've been doing this for a couple of months now, and like I said, I hope that it is somewhat educational. I think everybody kind of wants to feel that what they're doing isn't a waste of time and that it's useful to them. I know that I spent a couple of hours yesterday and the day before that doing Transformers photography, and now I'm wondering if there's any point, because I don't think there's any interest in that, so it's like I was actually better off spending the time here working on Corbie. I mean, I wanted to do that photography anyway, so it wasn't like I was it was only really for my own enjoyment, is what I'm trying to say. It's kind of like, I don't know, you spend hours agonising over photography and trying to get the lighting right and polish everything up and go hunting for your accessories and everything because you want to do the best possible job you can, and then what do you mean you're not interested in this tiny bootleg Virtus Maximus? Well, I thought it was cool. Anyway. I don't know, I guess I'm not a photographer either. I'm not a successful artist, I'm definitely not a successful photographer. I don't know. Yeah, that, I mean, I've been complaining about there's only so many hours in the day and I have so many things to do, but I might need to let that one go in terms of my little photography projects that I've been doing as a sideline as well, because it's surprising how time consuming they are and how stressful they are as well in terms of I ended up having a lot of anxiety. It's like anytime I couldn't find an accessory or something, or a figure wasn't quite as pristine as I wanted it to be, it's like, well, I can't take a photograph of this now, it's not perfect. And at least when I'm drawing stuff here on stream, if something's not right I can fix that, I just have to redo it. The other element of that is that I had a Transformers blog in the past and it was a huge time vacuum. It sucked up a lot of time, and when I started working on Corbie, I pretty much just had to go on hiatus indefinitely because there just was not time to do it. And the fact of the matter is, it's like if I'm going to spend a lot of time working on something, I feel like it's more important that I am creating my own things instead of just talking about things that other people or companies have made. Look at this toy, look at this comic book from 30 years ago. Well, you know, lots of people can do that and have chronicled those things already and can do a better job of it than I can, I suppose. And I kind of feel a personal responsibility that Corbie is kind of my thing and nobody else is going to draw this for me or write this for me. I have to do it myself. Okay, we are We're 30 minutes in, so we've got to get a move on. I think that we should. The ears are getting a bit jumbled up there. I think that we should start to work on Sadie on this palette. I think we're about done with this palette. Other than we've got to put in the black areas, the inking and that kind of detail, but the main line work is there. So if we can get a start, that's going to be very important in terms of really pushing us closer to the finish line. I'm going to pull up Sadie's model sheet as well, just so I can refer to her. And again, work at a very small scale here, but I want to make sure that she's correct. And it's a bit like what I was saying earlier about referring to reference to get the poses right, but even just referring back to your own work to make sure that things are done correctly could be a big help as well. Very nervous, very awkward Sadie here, and early in mode I'm going to put her on the spot a little bit here, and now it's the bell rings, so she is like, oh, look at the time, looks like I got a class. But as we'll see once we add the lettering in, Sadie is not actually going to class. Need to scale down the nose there, it's a little bit larger than we would normally draw it. Oh, did I don't know, just kept, for some reason I thought there I'd forgotten to draw the eyelashes on the characters in the last panel. I had made a mental note at some point that those were missing, and it's like, John, go back and add those. And obviously I did. Very cartoony face, much more than usual, but I like that actually. It's kind of the direction I would try to go in. I was looking at another artist's their comic page that they had done yesterday, or was it today? I don't know, the days are kind of blurred together, but recently. And I was really marvelling at how they seem to be able to do so much with just minimal use of lines and not having an excessive amount of detail, and I really feel like that is something that I am still struggling with. You know, that you can have really effective comic book art and you don't have to do it in that sort of the very flashy or sort of the traditional Western comic book style. I think, especially nowadays, in the last 20 or 30 years, I suppose, it has been the spectacle, and the more detail the better, and everything has to be very flashy. You can create really effective comic book art without having to have excessive sort of realistic levels of detail. And I really kind of envy artists who can do that. I think so much of my journey over the last 2 years or so, I suppose, has been about trying to minimize things and pare things down. As Corbie sort of moved from whatever the heck it was with issue 1 into the more cartoony style, and it's been a challenging transition for me because if you've been doing things for as long as I have, you end up with a lot of sort of ingrained habits. I think a lot of that ingrained conditioning as well, even on some subconscious level, that, or if a piece of art is detailed, then that means that it's good. I think about that all the time. I think about how that is developed into us. Right from being very young, even when you're at school. I know that if I ever got any compliments on my art when I was very young, a lot of the time it's, that's, this is very detailed, John. And it's like, oh well, there you go, detailed. That's good. There's not many kids who get complimented because, oh well, this is very minimalist. And you did a great job of conveying something without time-consuming, excessive detail. We were able to get down to the heart of the matter. No, we applaud kids for being able to over-render things, but I think, and then that conditioning that carries through with us to adulthood as well. And then culturally we have that as well. It's you can see that in other things, like as a culture we're very impressed with that kind of like movie CG. We can see every hair that's been rendered on a character and look how realistic it is, or in video games as well. In fact, I think a lot of this stems from video game culture, because so many of us have followed each successive generation of video game hardware with interest and seen the shift from, you know, the days of Atari and then like Super Mario Brothers, and then each successive generation, it seemed to get more and more impressive, and I felt like that was always what we wanted. And so in a lot of ways we don't value doing more with less. Okay, we've still got about 5 minutes left on today's show, so let's see if we can't get some of these details done on Sadie before we go. Again, apologies that today's show is a bit shorter than usual. I really do try to organise things, and Club Corbie has become, you know, very high priority to me, to make this commitment to all of you to do this show every day. It means a lot to me to be able to connect to my audience, to all of you, the core believers. And I try to do this for 2 hours every weekday from 2 till 4 UK time. Yeah, some days like today, it's just we have to cut things a little bit short as I try to juggle all the commitments. Hopefully tomorrow's show is going to be a full-length show. But we can. If we're really lucky, we might be able to just finish this whole panel off, and then add the lettering, and then we'll be done with this panel, with this page finally. And then we can move on to page 17. Spoiler alert, I hope you enjoy probably like a week's worth of pages that are just Sadie and Josie from the IC having a prolonged conversation. There's a lot of dialogue on the next couple of pages to further the story, move the story along. Not going to be a lot of Corinna, a lot of Corbie in this portion of the story. So I'm a bit concerned that there's going to be a bit of when are they going to get to the fireworks factory? And, you know, sometimes that's just necessary to, in the case of this story, just to fill in the blanks. And also it's important to me to that everybody else has their own stuff going on that sometimes might involve Corinna or Corbie, but also, you know, they have their own lives as well. As I've said in previous streams, I was always really inspired by the Silver Age Spider-Man stories, or, you know, the Stan Lee, Steve Ditko stuff, and then especially the Stan Lee, John Romita stuff, where it's like a soap opera almost, and everybody has their, or all of the main players appears like they all have their own things going on. But sometimes they're more interesting than whatever it is that Peter's doing as Spider-Man. And I really wanted to replicate that with Corbie and make sure that all the other students at Annandale Academy and the other members of Corinne's family and so on there, they all have their own storylines that I hope will be entertaining as well. It isn't just that I feel very strongly that the series should just be Corbie fighting supervillains all the time. Even if that's happening, we need to have other things going on as well, and that's part of the whole package of what we're doing here. So I think I need to move this eye over here so that she's actually looking at Mona, and then Orly who's off the panel there, but that's a little bit better. Okay. Right, that is going to do it for today's show. We will be back tomorrow. I would expect at the usual time. If anything changes, I will let you know. I always update on Twitter if there's going to be, if we ever need to postpone or cancel or reschedule. Always look on Twitter at @ReadCMC if you're not following there already. And in fact, you can actually just watch Club Corbie from there if you want to as well. And if you're not already watching on Periscope, on YouTube, on Twitch, so there's definitely options. But I am going to wrap that up there, and I will see you tomorrow for the next edition of Club Corbie, and hopefully we will get this page wrapped up then.